All right, friends. So, the way that we do communication right now, to say that it's less than ideal would be a remarkable understatement. I just got back from facilitating a retreat, like a staff retreat for, not even joking, the School of Communication faculty. And I was brought in to work on helping them to communicate to each other in a way that inspires everyone to show up as themselves, everyone to feel empowered to share what they want to say, everyone to feel and be capable of listening and understanding and processing what their peers were saying. And so the director and I designed this retreat together, and I just got back from facilitating it, and it was absolutely amazing. Um, so excited for that and grateful for that opportunity. And these are also the people who are literally teaching us how to communicate in the world. So just know that even the professionals, the experts, often still struggle to communicate. And I think for a lot of reasons. One of them being that the ways in which we communicate with each other have evolved so fast, so much faster than anyone ever could have prepared for. And the rules and the etiquette that had developed over hundreds and hundreds of years on how we communicate with each other and the processes that like we had biologically evolved to were just thrown out the window. And we were left on our own to, as a world, as a society, come up with new rules on the spot, on the fly, as we go using these new communication systems. I'm talking about phone, email, fax, video, like what I'm doing now, podcasts, social media, blogging, text messaging, all of it, video messaging. There's so many ways to communicate now. And we've all just been making up the rules, boundaries, guidelines, and best practices as we go. Some of them have worked really well, but for the vast majority of us, we feel less connected. We feel less heard. We feel over marketed to, oversold to, overstimulated. Everyone wants our attention. And we don't know how to control what's coming in. And we often don't know how to optimize what's coming out. And that's okay. We're all going through this together. No one has figured it out. But that doesn't mean that we should let things continue just rolling on this way. It's time to stop, and it's time to become intentional and decide how we want our communications to work for us. One fun story I have is about how my sorry, my therapist and I were talking about how I have started to go about making friends because I am an adult woman and I'm in my 30s, and making friends is freaking hard and scary. Why is it so scary? Right. And so what I realized is that there's a certain script that I like to use when I'm reaching out to someone and deciding if we want to get to know each other better, if we want to take it from like acquaintances to friends. And I generally will use this kind of similar script, either as a text message or in person or whatever. And I also realized I was being very picky about who I invited to be a real friend because I find a lot of interpersonal communication overwhelming. I'm fairly introverted. I have bouts of introversion and I don't always know when they're coming. I zone out a lot when I am listening to people because my brain is going 8 million different places. And sometimes I am so focused on listening that it can be a bit unnerving. I also will not text you back. I realize that I view postcards as like, or I view text messages almost like postcards, like, hey, thinking about you, smiley face. Part of that is because of when I grew up, and part of that is because of how I like to communicate with people and how overwhelmed I can be if I feel like too many tabs are open at once, communication wise. I love one-on-one conversations. I love sitting down in front of a friend and having uninterrupted time to hear what they're doing. That's probably why I'm a life coach. I love doing that with my clients. I love having one-on-one time with someone. Absolute joy. I've realized that if I am clear on how I like to communicate with people, how I communicate best in certain situations, I can design systems that help support me, and I can set boundaries and show other people how I expect to be communicated with and how I am going to communicate with them. I can be super clear on this so we're all on the same page and no one is offended. I famously had a auto response at the bottom of my work email when I worked for a major university that said, basically, I am very busy. I will do my best to respond to your email quickly. And if you need me immediately, the fastest way to get me is to physically walk into my office. If you don't need me specifically, you can physically walk into the office and find anyone who does what I do who will help you with your emergent problem. Right. And I just put this in my auto response. It was in every auto. People just had a running auto response from me. And it changed my whole work life. And it supercharged my capacity for what I was able to do for my office, to the point where I stopped spending almost every day seeing one-on-one students and answering a bazillion emails, to being able to design a training course, recruit student staff, train other people on systems, create new systems that worked, and design partnerships and collaborations. My capacity to do my job was supercharged by me figuring out what exactly my job was, how I could do it best, and how I was willing to be communicated with within my, the relationships that I worked with. And it changed everything. It made everything so much better. I've taken that into so many different areas of my life, to the point of now, as I'm onboarding new friends, I'm sort of like, great, this is how I text message. This is sometimes I do this, and here's like almost like a new friend orientation information packet, which I realize is probably my autism speaking. But if you think that my friendship onboarding packet is weird, then that's fine. You will probably think I'm weird. And if you think that my friendship onboarding package is an excellent fucking idea, you are probably my kind of autistic. Let's be friends. Okay. Where was I? So, where was I going with this? We, as a society, are right now having our communication happen to us and at us, and it doesn't feel good. I am doing a lot of work on helping people, women specifically, to communicate on purpose, communicate more loudly, openly, at a higher and higher frequency. And I think one of the first things we need to do is really get our digital communications under control. I think this is something that if we take a little bit of time, let's say we do 1 week on this, you're going to see huge outsized impacts, not outside impacts. The environment should be largely unaffected, but you're going to see outsized impact on your quality of life, on your capacity to do great things, on your rest and stress levels across the board. If you can get your digital communication strategy, either as a business or as a human, under control to a point that works for you, right? There are several things that you can do to make that happen, right? How long have I been talking? Only 10 minutes. So I'm going to go into a couple of specific things I think can help you. And then I'm going to tell you about my online week-long group coaching program and challenge that's going to invite you to dive into these steps deeper with me. Okay. The first thing you need to do is figure out how you want to communicate with different people in different places and in different things. So this means, yes, your digital communication and branding strategy for sure. It also means, as a human, as an individual, how do I want to communicate with my friends and family? And it also means, as how do I want to communicate with my coworkers, the clients I serve, blah, 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 blah. All of these communication systems have gotten a little bit fucked up by the rapid emergence of new technologies, right? You have notifications going off on your phone constantly. You are in a Slack messaging chain about the Zoom meeting you're in that could have been an email you got. Like there's so many layers and they're all happening at the same time. This is not, once again, this is not your fault. This is no one's fault. And we're fixing it now. Okay. So think about the different jobs you do and the different ways you communicate now. Which ones are your favorite? Which ones do you like the most? Are there some that really you love for certain situations? And go from there. Get an idea of, how do I want to have a really long, important conversation? What kind of communication makes me feel connected, feel heard, feel seen? How do I best serve people? How do I least best serve people? And get clear on all of that. Number 2, set up systems that honor this and create gentle and professional ways or loving ways to remind people of your boundaries and teach people your boundaries. We're really educating them on how to communicate with you best. And you can do that in a gentle and loving way. This could look like an auto response to all of your work emails, an auto response to text messages. It could work as setting your do not disturb mode for certain areas or taking your work email off your phone. Everyone's is going to be different, but it's important once you know how you want to communicate to start putting systems in place that will start the process of teaching people how this works. The third step is the emotional processing of this, because how scary was it the first time that auto response of, I'm very busy. If you really need me, please come and find me in person. I will do my best to respond to your email in a timely manner. The first time that went out to a student that I was working with was terrifying. The first time that it went out, coworker of mine, it was even scarier. And it took a lot of work to start processing, just doing things in a different way. Oh, I also put a link at the bottom of that email auto response to be like, if you'd like to book an appointment with me, here it is. Or if you need to see the first walk-in advisor available, like here it is. So I made it very easy for people to contact me in my chosen way, or here's how to schedule a call with me, or blah, 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 blah. And it is really scary to do things a way that's different than the way everyone has always done them. It is even scarier to do things in a way that might get you in trouble, that might get you reprimanded, that might make people mad at you or think you don't like them, or that you don't care about your job, or all these things. This is big emotional work. And it's important emotional work because it's not just you who's suffering in the way you communicate in your relationships, in your workplace, in your business, in your organizations, in our political parties, in our everything. It's got layers. It's not just you that's struggling. It's all of us. No one has this under control. And yes, we can sit around and hope that the systems eventually find the time and the know-how to fix themselves, or we can each acknowledge our own personal power to start a little trickle of change in the right direction for the people around us. We can be an example of what it looks like to kindly hold boundaries. We can be an example of what it means to champion work-life balance. We can be an example of choosing real communication over constant communication. And I am so excited to invite you into that. So we've gone over the 3 tips, the 3 steps. Once again, figure out how you want to communicate, put systems in place to teach others how you are going to communicate. And 3, do the emotional work to be okay with bringing the change, with being the odd person out. Those are the steps. Follow them, easy peasy, except for when it's not. And that is why I offer one-on-one coaching, because this is a process that happens slowly, so slowly over time, and feels really scary. unless you work with a coach intentionally to start busting through some of these blocks in a rapid way. All right. Here's how you're going to dip your toes in the water of doing this with me. I want to invite you into a 1-week container, sort of at the start of the school year, where we're going to come together and we're going to go through these steps together. I'm going to give you strategies. I'm going to help you visualize. I'm going to walk you through the steps one at a time. We'll all hold hands together. And at the end of the week, you're going to have a very different outlook on how you communicate with people. And at the end of a month, you're going to be the guiding light in your sphere of influence on how we can do all this digital communication so much better in such a human way. All right. Details on how to sign up are going to be in the description of wherever I happen to post this. And we'll probably get started after Labor Day, but check for the dates because I don't exactly have this fully planned out yet. All right. Jump in with me if you're interested. And if you have watched to this point, wow, welcome. I'm your friend now. I'm also your unofficial life coach or your official life coach if you pay me. You can get more of this stuff by following me on Instagram at Megan Gilman, liking, subscribing, sharing this. All will make sure that you keep seeing a little bit more from me every day. And I'm so excited to be working with you now. I'll see you soon.